Hey, it's Don the Auction Professor. It's Sunday, so it's time for another What's Sold on eBay. But we're going to go over to the screen, and I'm going to show you some of what's sold this week. Okay, so as usual, I went ahead and I just picked some random items. Again, it's just across the board. I left out all the clothes. I left out records again this time. We did sell a bunch of bulk lots of records, and we sold quite a few 78s again. I sold some cylinder records. I might have thrown in one of the cylinder records here just to keep your mind on it, but I'm not going to do records again, as I said, because they're all the same. You've just got to do your research on records and figure out which ones are the best to buy, and that'll usually give you your answers on most of the records. Records, they all look the same. You're just looking at labels and things like that. So let's move on to the first item here. I talk about newspapers all the time. I get these type of newspapers, just what you see here. This is a World War II titled newspaper, and I get these, as I said, all the time at flea markets, estate sales, especially in big box lots. They're just junk newspapers thrown up in the attic half the time. And then my pickers bring them to me too. And I usually buy a huge stack, 20, 30, 40, 50 newspapers for like 15, 20 bucks at max. Usually the people selling these, when they see them, they see the condition. It's just a newspaper. They don't think much of them. They're not quick movers though, but we do sell, a couple each month, and usually we get top dollar for them, like this one, $24.50. I may have a quarter into this, when I buy them in these bulks. So it's a quick mover, and for the amount we have up and what we sell, even at the fees of a bunch of these running, we still make 20, 30 bucks profit when we sell a couple a month. So, it may not seem like a bunch to run these, but, if you've got $4 in listing fees or $5 in listing fees for a stack of these, and you sell 2 a month and you're getting 50 bucks or so profit back out of them, I don't worry. Every little dime helps. Across the board on newspapers, or I make $100 a month on newspapers. I add that in with everything else we sell, and we're into the profit margin. We're making good money off of everything we have. But that's just how we do it. So just keep that in mind. It's not the amount you sell, it's the amount of profit you're making off these. And that's why the sell-through rate doesn't matter on these. It's not important on these. So again, as I said, I may have $5 in listing a whole bunch of these. Through the summer, we sell a couple a month. In the winter, I may sell 5 or 6 a month. So, that's the difference here. Just like postcards, in the summer, I may sell 10, 15 a day on postcards every day of the week. In the winter, I could be selling 35 or 40 sometimes through it, because more people are inside, more people are shopping, even on the vintage. So anyway, let's move on to the next item here. I got quite a few today to go through. Sheet music here. Now, this is a Cotton Club one. Most of the ones that say Cotton Club, you're safe to sell, and they'll do fairly well. They're usually jazz across the board. The artwork's decent on this one. It's got a nice jazz-style cover. And the title, Between the Devil and the Deep Blue Sea. I know this song. I know the actual presentation from this song here. I've seen the movie that this was featured in. I do like a lot of the earlier movies. We'll get together and watch these, on the big screen down here with people. So it's something that I listen to. When I see sometimes these sheet musics, I'll actually go and Google the song on YouTube while I'm listening or something, or when we're just sitting around researching or something. 'Cause some days I'll just do nothing but research for 8, 10, 12-hour days. And I like to kind of break that up and kind of get a sense on the material itself. So we do listen to songs on sheet music. And sometimes, as I said in the past, when sheet music sells, the record sells as well too. Or when the record sells, you've got a good chance in the sheet music selling. So if you're not sure if a sheet music is good, usually if it says Foxtrot, it's good, or Cotton Club, obviously it's good. You got to know a little bit about the subject matter to make this work and to have a better idea and not waste your time for hours looking up a sheet music or something. I spend on most every item I look up no more than, say, 5 or 10 minutes. If it's something that's, looking to be a really expensive item or something higher, I may look a little longer than that. Or if I can't find something, as I've said in the past, I'll set it aside and look, in a month or two again, next time I get around to that stack. I've got stacks of stuff they're not a huge amount of items, but there's stacks of stuff that I have here that I have no clue on pricing them yet. And I'm sure they're good items, but I don't want to underprice or overprice or anything along that line. So when I'm running out of, options to look up something and I'm spending too much time, I just set it aside. Because what'll happen is, in another month or 2 months or 3 months or, next year, whenever you pull this stack back out, there may be more items that have sold since then, and you'll have a better idea on the price. That's what I do. I just wait. I'm not in a hurry to sell anything. We sell enough all the time, and we're always listing new items, so any specific item isn't any concern to me whatsoever. Like, I got those glass plate negatives, and those probably won't even go up for a month or two. You can check my listings. I don't have them up. I'm not planning on listing them. I got a line on some more possibly from the same source. So at this point, I would rather just wait, because they could be tied to the same types of images, and it would be better to gang list a bunch of these. Like there's Ohio State ones in there, for example. Nice images, 1910, 15, 8x10s in some cases, and then mostly 5x7s. All glass plate slides of insides and views of Ohio State University. So that's something that could be high dollar items. The university could actually buy these. So, and I do sell items like that to the university who is photographed or shown in the images. So keep that in mind. Family members of famous things or of, performers or things like that do sell too. I've got 3 emails right this very second from people who are family members of items I have up, asking and, wanting to know if they can group buy, or, where did I get this, and, they'd love to have it, or things along that line. I've got 3 or 4, maybe even 5, I think actually now, purchases or contacts from museums of city museums. Alma, New York, the actual historical society there, has contacted me about a 1859 card I have up. You can look it up in my listings, and you'll see which one I'm talking about. Just type in Alma 1859, and you'll see the card in question here. But this happens all the time. I've sold this week to several people who write price guides on some of the collectibles that I sell. So, there's a ton of market in there, and I still, as I said, my sales are through the roof right now. I'm almost in a December 4th quarter sales ranking right now, believe it or not. It's just, a great bonus for us. And again, as I said, I'll explain that, what our take is on that for those of you who have that. And again, if you're just selling clothing and stuff, you probably don't have this huge sale. You're still in the downtick because, this month is still going through. Next month, you should pick up. So if you're not picking up and you're not doing rocking sales right now, you're going to pick up next month. So again, there are options, and I do have videos on how to fix your sales. So anyway, we're running a little late to fix them because, these are issues that should have been addressed at the start of summer for the most part. But let's move on to the next item here. I got a bunch of cigar box labels. Again, I say I put on high prices on them. This one went up for an auction. I just threw a price out there. I believe this was in the $200 range on Cigar Label Price Guide, the online source that I talk about in other videos. So I put it up for $40 just to throw one out there. It sold on the sale date. We sold I want to say $1,200 worth of cigar box labels in the same day on the listings that we did. And then we had some buy it now still that were up. So in a 3-day time frame, we did almost $2,000 in these kind of labels. So cigar box labels always sell for us. And just be cautious when you buy them, though, because there are some that are extremely common. You have to get the gist on the names. There's only 3 or 4 good names to really worry about on these early ones. And once you get up to 1890s and newer, the names and the people who made cigar box labels broadens hugely. You've got this vast amount of people, and there's so many more that aren't worth as much money. So anyway, just keep an eye on it. I may go into cigar and cigarette items in a video specifically, just tobacco related, because that is probably a good 5 or 6, 7, 8% of our sales in some months. So that may not sound like a lot, but when you're doing a ton of sales, that's a couple $1,000s in some months of the year. So, and across the board. So anyway, let's move on to the next one here. Plow company items, chilled plow, John Deere items, all these early John Deere pamphlets, cards, postcards, addressed envelopes from pre-1910. There's even Christmas cards from John Deere, believe it or not, and, greeting cards and things. Not just postcards, but actual full-fledged greeting cards any of the paraphernalia, letterheads from the company, like just a letterhead with, even a letter filled out on it. Some of those are even worth $15-20. All the farming equipment sells for us. It may not be real quick on some of these items, but again, I pay nothing for this. We made $60 profit on this one card, and it was up for maybe 5 months, I'm guessing, on this one here. Just by the number. Now, I'm going to probably show you some more on storage as well, too. I've got a long list of topics from, questions and things like that. And as I said, I research and track even the questions that are coming in, trying to get the best material for overall viewership, for the people that want to see this. When a video doesn't go well, obviously I adjust and take that into heed. When I get a bunch of bad comments, I take that into heed. Again, I'd rather obviously have good comments and good feedback and, a thumbs up on everything, but it counts to the good for us either way, even if you're leaving bad feedback. Obviously, I want good feedback, but it all goes into interaction, and YouTube only judges us on interaction. They don't care if it's good, bad, or thumbs up or thumbs down. So, I look at all that, I track it, and I try to decide on, how to steer my videos as well, too. I don't show a lot of what other people do, even if it is more viewership. I'm actually going, as I said, for the content. I'm into this, and this is my thing. So I love eBay, I love reselling, and I love talking about it. So that's where I'm coming from. Hopefully that gives you some ideas on this. But anyway, again, good card here. Plow items, farming items, vintage 1920s before, 1910 or before is the best. 1870s is even better. So let's move on to the next one. That last one, too, was the Tsar Nicholas of Russia. So if that gives you an idea. This is just a big card. This was, it's like maybe 7 by 10-ish in size. It's a big, thick cardboard piece. I'm not really sure what this would have went to. Could have been a promotional item. It could have even been trimmed for all I know. I'm sorry, here's the size right here. 5.5 by 8 1/8. And when I do the sizes, too, just an FYI, put the sizes in either the condition or the title, always. I know people talk about, the individual detail listing and stuff. As long as you have the item information in the title or the description, there's no actual need to put it anywhere else. There's no real need to even put it in the description box if you've got it all in the title. When you're searching for items and you're doing a keyword search in eBay or on Google, it'll pull up from all of those sources. So you're double putting the same information there. I know other people are going to tell you that's not the case, but do a search for yourself to see. I am not making that up. I have an IT degree. We did keyword searches. We actually built databases from just textual-wise, without anything else, no graphic interface or anything, just typing the information in word-wise, and we created them with SQL, and we've worked in other databases. I actually had a database design and construction class where you actually physically design the entire database from scratch, and to pass that class, we had to make a very complicated database with the ability to keyword search in any criteria. So I do honestly know how that works. So the keywords for this, eBay does search by title, description, and or by title and description, and those individual item descriptors. Like when it asks you, do you want to prove all these item specifics? If they're in the title of the item, you don't necessarily have to put them anywhere else. It's like triple typing the information in. I am limiting what I put in there. I'm keeping all the information in there somewhere, but I'm limiting it for more keyword optimization and Google search optimization and cell phone optimization. More and more people are buying off their cell phone. You've got to be ahead of the game. Just why eBay is switching stuff around. That is a good thing. Hopefully everybody's now, forgetting about all the fiasco with last month and eBay's big, massive mess up. Yeah, they messed up. Fine. Let's move on and let's look forward to what's going on and what those changes are doing for us. I know they're working also towards, like Amazon, like a buy box thing. As I've talked about, there basically is a buy box for antiques right now. You want to be the best person, have the best feedback. That is your buy box. But as they work towards this, there's a reason behind it. It's not just because Amazon's doing it. The whole market is geared and switch towards that, that standpoint. Everybody is looking at that. eBay is not the only one switching up. Everybody on these other sites that have abandoned eBay, you're going to see the same changes once those sites try to compete as well. Right now, they're a niche. There's something new. They're, like keys being dangled in front of somebody now. That's what they are. They're attracting people to them. Whether they're good, bad, or going to work, doesn't matter. It's new. It's flashy. Let's look at that. So, I'm sticking to the old reliable ones that are still in the 1 and the 2 sales categories, across the board like eBay and Amazon now. So, anyway, we do sell on 7 sites or across 7 areas. So, I do other things, but specific sell in certain places. So, just keep that in mind. Do your homework. Let's move on to the next one here. I think I took 45 on this one here, and the person bought a Cigar Box label as well. This is a person who buys from me all the time. We've got, a dozen or 2 people that buy from us pretty much every week or 2, all the time. I don't know if they just wait till a paycheck comes out and they buy, but that happens all the time. And then we've got month people that maybe buy once a month from us, but they buy from us all the time, month after month after month. So, just how people are. You just got to pay attention to that too. And again, I researched and I've tried to address and figure out how I can get more sales out of these folks and put stuff on sale that I know they look at or they've questioned in the past. Keep some of this in mind. I've talked about interacting with your customers, and that's how you increase sales. Don't just drop off and don't pay any attention to these folks after they've bought the item. You want them to come back. If you're not selling multiples in the same category, you're not going to have that opportunity. So, in clothing, you can't bring in a lot of new people, that religiously come back to you unless you're selling what they are interested in, their size, for example, or their style or their taste. You don't have the opportunities like you do in collectibles. People that collect. They buy the same items over and over and over and over again. This is a totally different model than what you do for clothing. So, again, just keep that in mind. Hopefully I'm not drilling you with too much. Let's get on to the items here. We've had just a real good month, so I'm sorry to be talking over and about this, but I've done a lot of homework on this, and it's really helping us now. So, anyway, let's move on here. Again, Cigar Box Labels, we did a ton of money, almost a couple $1,000s in Cigar Box Labels in just a couple days. This one's got some damage. It had some rips. You see it sold for $159. Again, an auction. You never know what this stuff is going to go for. Now, I originally had some of these up as, buy it now option. But I looked into the pricing again. And I went and talked to some folks at some of the bigger auction houses, Heritage and things like that. And the price trends are actually down on these right now. I could have waited and sold these in winter and increased the value a little bit. But I have got a exorbitant amount of items. And, I just threw them out and said, what the heck. I've got a ton of these. I don't even have, a third of my Cigar Box Labels up. And we're still going to make, thousands from that last purchase that I talked about from one of the hauls. So, I just want to get some items up. We're really looking for a number here. I'd like to hit 50,000 active listings by December or more. And next year shoot for, another 10, 15, 20,000 above that. Expand your business. That's what we're looking for. We're trying to get more and more up and to do more and more. But let's move on here. G.I. Joe. Now, I showed that haul of just junk parts. I had 17 or something into them. One person came out and bought, within 4 days or so of putting this up, he bought $200+, 8 listings worth of these items. Just random listings. So I have about half of the items still up. So I'm figuring I'll get another 150 to 200 for the rest of them as well. Now, to decide on what I took, because the average price on my listings was 40 to, I think, $50 or so on what I listed the G.I. Joe, those 8 lots at. And I I did a comp search to decide on whether I should take that, Yeah, there's certain items that may have went for, $20, $30 an item, possibly, but that's a long tail. This is taking up a whole bin plus sitting on my shelf right now. I have 17 into them, so I looked on a comp search. I did G.I. Joe parts lot. And, I looked at what they went for. For the $200, if I threw these into one picture in one lot in the comps, the average price was like $125 to $145. I took over $200 for the same amount separated. So I increased the value on the same amount of stuff that way. So I took the offers. You know, and this person may come back and buy the rest of them. I've got opportunities for all the others. The best parts out of the lot are still up, which are the guns, the backpacks, and the smalls. The stuff that doesn't show up because they get lost so easily. So my best stuff are still up. So again, I've already made, you know, $150 profit off those junk parts. That is a bolo all day long. You know, if you're passing up on broken, missing, and just junk part slots like that of vintage toys, you're crazy. I sell it all the time. I always sell pieces of everything. Pieces of games, pieces of models, pieces of toys. You know, even like book sets where it should be 5 volumes and I only have 1 or 2 or 3. People end up buying these and they're missing 1 or 2 or 3, and that's why it sells. Even single discs to double disc sets sell. So anyway, let's move on. I've got, I think, a couple of these pictured here. Let's just move on, just so you can see these are all gone. I didn't pick them all, but again, this one person bought 8 lots, $226 or something along that line. And again, I showed you these photos. We've got hundreds of these up. I think I got 25 total out of this one here. And I've got, I think we sold 7 or 8 or somewhere in that range on these this week too. So almost about 1 a day, 1.1 or 1.25 a day of these. So, and that's been about the average since we list them up. Residual income. I still got hundreds of these. We've still well made our profit back just on the few we sold the very day they went up. So anyway, big movers, quick sales on some of these. By Christmas time, I should be selling quite a few more because the sales will increase. Postcard, this one went overseas. They paid the $14 to ship this to England. I had $34.50 on it. It was up for a little while by the number. So, you know, I just let the $15 offer go on that. That was fine. You can tell even by on how I have it listed. You can see some of the ruler marks. Again, as I said, we've changed up how we list. This one could have been up for 2 years by looking at the image. We do go back and change stuff, but it's not as easy to change 10,000 plus listings, the old listings, and still keep going with getting new ones up. So we do a certain amount every week. So you're going to see even some of my listings that violate some of my own rules. But again, I drew a point at one date when we said and looked at what was going on, what other people are doing, and looked into some of our competitors and the people that buy from us and, you know, resell, and saw what they were doing. And that's when we changed up and do zoom ins and all this other items here. And we changed the type of ruler, and, you know, it's a learning experience for me just as much as it is for everybody else. So, you know, I learn something new all the time. A subscriber pointed out something really neat the other day that I had no clue on, which was one of the biggest helps I've had in a long time. So, you know, you always learn something. You know, this is a group learning experience. So, you know, I do honestly want to expand my knowledge, you know, and that's in my site page, you know, my introduction, every video, expanding your knowledge. That's what I want to do myself. You know, I'm still floating, you know, going back to college for, you know, PhD and things like that. You know, you got to expand your knowledge. It's just a no-brainer. The more you learn, you know, the better you are. It's just for anything, you know, finances or whatever. For those of you who struggle in getting your finances straight, take one single accounting class at college. If it's a business, you know, you're doing it for your business, it's a business expense for you. You can deduct the cost of that class. Fully fledged, fully legit, the whole works. You can deduct, you know, the books, the expenses, the whole works to better your business. Again, for those of you who, even if you're never taken a college class, you can do it as an audit and not worry about the credit. You're using it for the experience. If you don't want to go to school to take, you know, full-fledged college, take 1 or 2 classes that will help you. It is a tax deduction from your expenses. So anyway, I recommend everybody taking at least 1 accounting class, just personally, if you want to do this professionally, and then taking 1 business management class. And if you have problems or you're nervous in front of people, go take 1 public speaking class, and you're going to get that gist of it after that class, because you're going to be forced to do it. You got to stick with it. You got to show up every day. You're paying for this. Don't let it slide. So anyway, let's move on here. Chinese images always sell. Now, this is an oddball one. I do see them, you know, holding rats for, some reason, maybe it's a derogatory reference. I'm not really sure. I haven't looked up on it. I know they used to call it the China problem. I don't feel that way in any way, shape, or form. So, no offense to anybody whatsoever. I don't take anything. This is a historical item. So anyway, but this is some, again, what you would find. This one sold very quickly. I got $50 out of this one here, I believe it was. Let's move on to the next one. This one actually went, again, to a person who writes price guides. So this is a scarce card. I got 85 out of it. It was up for, I don't know, 6-7 months. And again, there's no comparable price to compare it to. There is none. This is the one only example I've seen of this card in all the years that I've done this. And it's a little larger card than most of these sizes. It's bigger than a postcard, I should say. But $85, I thought that was a fair price. Again, I do put them up higher than I expect to get all the time. And sometimes they do go for that. So that's part of the gist on it. And sometimes, I may be wrong, and I may think a card's only worth $50, and I may put $150 on it, and it could have been a $200 card. That's just the way this goes. You win some and you lose some, but I win, 80%, 90%, 95%. Who knows what the remark is? But, even if something sells immediately does not mean that that item was a huge pricey thing. It means that one person thought your value was okay. That is all it means. It doesn't mean that it was worth that. It doesn't mean anything. So when you're even researching items and you see one item that was a buy it now that went for thousands of dollars, and then there's 100 of the same items and they only went for 150. The 150 is the honest price. It's either money laundering, which happens all the time, or it's a fake buyer, somebody just joking around or messing with the seller, or, it's just a one-off lark, or who knows what else it is. It's not a factor in judging the price. Judge it by the 100 that sold for 150. That's just what that is. But let's move on again here. Cat cards always sell for us. I think I took $30 on this one here. And it's a J&P Coates thread. Thread cards usually don't sell for high dollar, but some of the Bernard and some of the J&P Coates cat ones do sell. I sold a couple to the same person. They only bought cat ones. I think they bought a gloss starch card with cats on it too for like $25 too. I may have shown that one. No, I'm sorry, I didn't. Another Chinese image card here. I got $75 out of this one, and it was up for 2 hours. The other Chinese image that I showed you too, that I did for $50, that was up for maybe 4 hours. 2 different people bought these two. But let's move on here. That last one was an 1870s engraved as well, which is even scarcer. Calendar cards do sell. This is like a lady's pocket calendar. They could write little notes on it. It's from 1880. It's meant to be folded in half so you don't mess up the writing on it when you get one of these. It did go for $17.50. The same person bought several cards, thread related. Not the same one who bought the cat ones, mind you, but we do have multiple purchases almost daily. Some days we'll have 5 and 6 people buying multiple items, especially in winter for holidays. This one's really cute. I love the frog ones. All the frog anthropomorphic cards pre-1910 sell for us. Almost every single one. And sometimes we have people, wow, you've got so many frogs. I've had several people say that they collect frogs, and I had the biggest selection of cards, and they bought 7, 8, 9, 10 cards each. So I always try to get these out first. This is one of the ones that I don't worry about. If I have a bunch together, I'll list them. And this one's from 5 Points, too. A lot of the 5 Points items, the printers in 5 Points, do seem to sell more than others. But let's move on here. And there's many printers from the 5 Points area. That's in New York City, if you're not familiar. I think there's a movie on that with Leonardo DiCaprio. I can't remember the name of the movie, but I believe that's what it was. California cards. Now, Oakland is a huge town. Most of the huge town cards aren't worth a ton of money, so they're cheaper cards. I've researched every card I got up, so I've done comparisons to every card I put up, especially in California. So every card of California I've got up is priced according to comp sales and overall type and view and stuff like that. So I am very confident on my prices on the California cards. If you find something you can welcome to post down below, but make a specific comment on which card you're talking about, because again, I've researched these all. You know, people list list the cards for me. I do the research, they do the listing. I do make mistakes, so there's a chance that I messed up on something. So again, if I did miss something, let me know. But let's move on here. $14.50 on this one. But this was a bigger seller this week. I had some comments and some emails on this first. Who knows what this is worth? There's no comparables. There's nothing like it. It's a cloth-backed one. It does have some issues. It's got some lineage from creasing on the left. It's got some fading. It's got some white marks across it. There's ways to clean this up a little bit. I don't mess with these, especially if they're cloth-backed. I ended up just taking $750 on this one. I liked it. It's not a huge one. Who knows what it's worth? Could I have held out and maybe got $1,200 out of it? Yeah. It had a bunch of watchers. It had been up for, you know, maybe a month or so. And something like this, if it's not moving quick and it's this rare of an item, your price is probably a little off there. So I tweaked it. I took $750 on it. Again, I put it up for way more than I expected to get. It was originally up for $17.50. I did a discount on it to $12.25, and I ended up taking $7.50. I've got $5 into it. So, you know, I'm not going to argue. Maybe it was a few bucks more than that, but I know I don't have very much in it. So I'm not going to worry when I'm making $700 profit. But let's move on here. Sheet music again. They're not all quick and you know, high dollar movers. I don't mind putting a sheet music up for $9.50. This was up for a while too. You can tell by no numbers and the angle and such forth. This is probably up for 2 years, you know. But I've probably got pennies into listing it. I've probably got $1 something into listing fees. So I'm making $5, $6, $7 on this one at the end of the day. And you know, my employees probably listed it. Again, so I don't worry about stuff like that. This is like the FBA of the back in the day. It was part of my thinking on this, you know, where you send in a bunch of books and, you know, you don't care if they're $5 or $6, $10. You sell them all the time. I sell sheet music almost daily. So overall, I make a ton of profits on it. I don't worry about the individual one because $5, you know, you may not think, you know, who cares? It's only $5. But if I sell 100 items for $5 a week, you know, I'm making an extra $500 there. So it's a numbers game, you know, $5 here, $5 there, you know, $100 here, wherever you're making the money at. That's the key. Like the newspapers, you know, $50, you know, a month or a week you're making on newspapers times, you know, 12 months. It goes up in the winter, so you're doubling that in the winter. It's just a no-brainer. The idea is to know enough about many areas to expand your market. So hopefully you're picking up on that, not just postcards. There's so many other categories that you could buy in, and it's an overall profit margin. You're not worrying about the sell-through rate. This one I may have priced under a little bit here, but there was no Dr. Bowles cards of this type, and the cards even that were not the same image that were still by Dr. Bowles still weren't selling for this much. This was up for like 6 hours. It sold for $57.50 straight out. So, you know, you never know on these. You know, I still made a horrendous amount of money on this. And the person who bought it's a collector of these, so, you know, it's not somebody trying to resell on me. Here's a good example on magazines in general. Now, everybody thinks Beatles magazines are worth a ton of money. I know better. I put it up at twice what I thought I would get for it. You know, I got in the $9 profit or $9 sale range on this. It's in real good condition, but it's the first issue too. But they made millions of them. The first one they did over here, they bombed the market with it, thinking they're all going to sell. And some of the other ones sold way better than this one, so there was a ton of these left on the market. I got a bunch of these. I didn't pay much for them. So, you know, I'm making $7, $8 on the magazine. Who cares? You're making, you know, continual income on these. You know, it's the overall game. It's the big picture. Another one of these I sold, I think I took 15 on these. I never ever use them or do them as a auction anymore. I've tried that with hundreds of these in the past. This is one of those items that you pretty much always want to put it up as a buy it now option. You'll sell them higher. I guarantee you will sell them higher and more doing it as a buy it now as opposed to an auction. Because on items like this, there's not enough people up, even on a 10-day auction. You might miss a bunch of the high dollar collectors on this. They may only check once a month. They're seasonal. And a lot of these do go overseas, so it varies the market on these. So, You know, I always list these as a buy it now. Always now. I never do it. And if I'm not sure on them, I'll just throw out some high prices, and I'll judge them by some of the records of the same titles of songs. Because the records of the same titles of these type, or this type of music, the jazz ones, are from the same era, so the pricing is similar in many ways. So anyway, let's move on. This is a die cut, 8 1/8 inches. I took 15 on it. You know, I picked up a big bulk lot of these. They may have even been in a sheet that I separated on these. Anyway, let's move on here. Another postcard, 1750. It's a Winch back, if you don't know John Winch. And this is an old one. This one was up for a while. That's why the photos aren't so great, and you see a dark background. This is up for 2 years, or just close to 2 years. And again, that's $1.20 to list. I've got $1 into it, so that's $2.50, and then I've got maybe $1.10 in the fee, so $3.50. So I've made $14.50 by keeping this up for 2 years. I list it and forget about it. I've got lots of items like that, and they sell every day. I sell something that's been up for a while, and you know, that's why you may see items that aren't the greatest up in my pictures, because these are up for a couple of years. And again, as I said, we only pick a limited number to fix each week. Some weeks we've got so much going on, I don't even have them adjust any. Right now I've got 119 ended listings that we pulled aside to fix this week. That number has no bearing on anything. It was just the ones that ended unsold that we are going to fix. And once we fix them, it's like new listings going up, and I'll get some sales out of them immediately. You know, and I'll sell some, and then they'll just go into the routine and just be sitting there again, and I'll forget about them again. That's how this works. You know, residual income, I say that all the time. That's why the sell-through rate means nothing. I just made $14.50 profit, and I'm not doing anything for it. I did it 2 years ago. I have no modern day effort into this. It's been paid for by the lot this came with too. So, you know, that's easy money. $14.50 for doing nothing but letting this sit there online for 2 years. You know, 60 cents is the max I paid to list this. It's actually probably less than that, because obviously we only pay 4 cents for 10,000 in 2 different stores that we have. But anyway, $17.50. This was up for 3 days. California, of course. And that was a chrome card, so, you know, just FYI. Silk one here. This one was up for maybe let's see, 18 months. This one was up for 18 months. So again, less than $2 to list it. This was a $1 purchase. Again, $14 profit. Let's move on here. So again, that's what I'm saying, residual income here. Don't stress if everything's not selling. This one was up for, geez, 2 listing cycles, so for 10 cents worth of listing. This is a scrap. This is part of a card folder or booklet, just part of it, and it still went for $24.50. Shaker extract, anything shaker extract seems to sell for us. Now there's postcards with that on it too. There's a booklet, a brochure with that on it as well too. There's a almanacs by the same company. So I mean, there's books, there's all kinds of material, not just cards. So I don't just find cards, I find booklets. As I said, this is part of a booklet. Let's move on here. Courier knives cards always sell for us. This has some issues, so they were greatly reduced in price. Somebody spilled something on the top or something. It's got some kind of residue, which is listed in the description. The backs look pretty decent. It's a shame because these would have went for probably $45 a card. So look up Courier knives, you know, cards, trade cards, and you'll see that some of them can go for hundreds of dollars. I've got a stack of them. I've probably got 17 or 18 nice Courier knives still to list. So that's probably in the, you know, $500 profit range or more on just those 17 cards. Probably it's more than that, but let's move on here. California card again. This one wasn't up very long, so we've got 30 cents or maybe even 20 cents in the listing this, and again, so $14, $15 profit on this. Let's move on here. This one was up for maybe 6 months, so I've got, you know, 30 cents into listing it. This is like a quarter in one of those little bins on you know, those bin buckets and stuff you see at the checkout and thrift store or something like that. So I took 15 for it too. Miniature stuff usually sells, and it has the label on it still, never used. Nice item. Sheet music again. This was up for, I think, 2 days. $14.50 it sold for. I have literally I know it says 50 cents, but that's what I have into it. I bought a bunch of these religious ones from one of my pickers for 50 cents a shot. This was up for a little while. I want to say 3 months. I didn't take these pictures, unfortunately. I would have done better with the face on it. It's $2. They're vintage ones, and they did sell for $24.50. Okay, now these pins. I've talked about pins. These are the kind you can buy in bins for like 10 for $1 sometimes. Or in big bag lots. You know, even at Savers sometimes I find these sitting on the little peg wall. Again, Savers around here is closed, so I don't do Savers shopping, but you know, when we did go to Savers, Goodwill I find this kind of stuff at. I got 12 bucks out of this. You know, so I've got $9-10 profit for 2 photos, you know, 10 seconds worth of taking photos or less, probably less than that, and then maybe 2 minutes worth of listing this. So easy, quick, 10 bucks. And I showed this in a haul, I think. It's just for parts. I did take $24.50 out of it. I got $1 or something into it, just the way you see it. And this is one of the ones that I lost. The photos disappeared too, and I still sold it. So anyway, let's move on. This one was up for, I think, 3 days. I took $45 for it at the end of the day. Maybe it was $50. It was either $45 or $50. I don't remember the exact price. We did sell a lot that day. It's just a comic book. You know, I got $1 into this thing, and I got 3 or 4 of these. Let's move on here. This one, I think I took, yeah, this one did go for $45.50, you see. And it's a nice size. You can see the size, 13, just over 13 inches tall, about 6 inches across. And this is like a promotional from like a magazine or something. Yeah, Saturday night newspaper. Really neat. Owls always sell. Anything with an owl from the Victorian era seems to sell for us. The die cuts, especially, in the cards, if they're anthropomorphic, you know, an owl doing something a human should do. Anthropomorphic just means that it's an animal. Animal from morphic, it's morphing into what like a person would do, like animals dressed for like a dog dressed in a suit, or the one that everybody knows is the dogs playing poker. That is a classic anthropomorphic image, and those sell too, believe it or not. I get playing cards with it on it, you know, reproduction, you know, cheapo Bigelow prints and things like that, and those always sell $30-40 a piece for the vintage ones. But let's move on. I can't remember the name of the artist. It's a specific artist who did that. And he's got a whole line of those out. But it'll come to me as soon as I'm done with the video. But somebody out there will probably shout it down and post it down below. But there's the artist's name who does the dogs playing poker. That's what I'm thinking of. I can't think of his name. But let's move on to the last item here. Last item was another one of those 8x10 photos, the military ones, and I took $30 on it. And this person bought over a 2-week time span like 10 or 15 of these, all at $30 a piece. So, you know, out of one person, I've paid for all of my photos, and there's more than just him that have bought multiple images. We've had pretty much almost everybody has bought, you know, 4, 5, 6 at a time, the ones who bought these. We've made several $1,000s profit off these photos just in the last month or so that these have been up. And again, we've got hundreds more up, and I still have another stack of movie-related 8x10s and TV-related 8x10s. We do better sometimes on the TV show 8x10s than I do on the movie-related ones because there was less of the TV show ones made. So just an FYI. But that's what I have today. I know I talked a lot today. Sorry about that. Hopefully that gives you some ideas, though. I like to give the information out there. We've been on a roll these last couple of weeks. Things have been going great. You know, I'm really happy with the way things are running this time. And, you know, we got our model done. I've got my postcards in house. And, you know, we're going to be rolling those out to you real soon here after I get some trademarks and some things like that situated and some copyrights. But going forward, you know, things are just looking up right now. I'm going to hopefully give you some more ideas, some more bolos, and help you to move your way up to you know, the increases in the different items that are going to sell for you better than the clothing and the items that the market's flooded on. But that's what I have for you today. Well, there you go. That's what I sold this week. It gives you kind of an idea on the broad range of items we sell. There's some interesting items there, a couple of high-dollar ones. This is just a random selection, as always. I just picked, you know, every 10th item or whatever the case may be, just randomly picked items, just to give you an overall idea. I didn't try to pick any clothing or books or anything like that, the common stuff that everybody sells. I want to give you, again, as I always say, stuff that you won't see all the time or something that you could run into that you'd never think was worth something. Paper in general general makes us a ton of money. It's my #1 area to sell in. We always make 300, 400, 500% profit on most any paper item that I get and sell. So, you know, and it's a high dollar area. They're bought cheap and easy to turn around. So anyway, that's what I have for you today. Again, Don the Auction Professor. If you like the video, please hit the like button below. You can also hit the bell icon up top to be notified when I post new videos. Subscribe and tell a friend.